Thank you very much. My name is Mustamir Ahmad Khan, and today I'm going to introduce you to the topic of the new dashboards that we have introduced in Focused Build for Solution Manager. Just before we get started with the session, a quick disclaimer: the information that is presented during the course of this session is for information purposes. This should not be used for any purchase decisions. Also, I will be showing you some of the lab previews. So this is subject to the availability of the product and various considerations from SAP. So please have due consideration before making any purchase decisions. And as always, this webinar is brought to you by ALM Summit, so you can always use the hashtag in your social media accounts. Now, before we get started actually with the dashboarding, we need to understand we have different dashboards in Focused Build for Solution Manager, namely the test suite dashboard, the solution readiness dashboard, and the release dashboards. But all these dashboards were built using different technologies. They used to have different navigation paradigm. You could not actually go ahead and personalize based on your liking. Everything that was provided was as per the standard provided by SAP. They had different visual appeal per se. So every dashboard per se used to look a little bit slightly different from each other. You cannot pick and choose what exactly you wanted. For example, you're working on only certain components or certain objects and you didn't want it to see the other objects. You could not actually pick and choose. Everything was provided by standard, and you could always use the standard, but you could never personalize based on your liking. And also, it was not possible to share what you configured with your colleagues or your department, your teams that you're working with. So all this made the dashboards within Focus Build for Solution Manager a little bit complicated. So what we have done is we have come up with a new versions of this dashboards, and we have not only enabled you to come over with this transparency, but we are enabling the insight to action, which means we have not only tried to move from complexity, and we have provided you a lot of options in the form of simplicity, but we have also provided you the flexibility so that you can decide what exactly you want to do, what are the objects that you want to work with the kind of objects that you want to work with, the personalization option, how do you want to configure these dashboards, and we have made it as simple as possible for the end user to use it. We have a unified look and feel, and also a simplified and unified navigation paradigm. So if you have gotten used to working with, for example, test suite dashboard, the navigation paradigm would remain the same for solution readiness dashboard. And additionally, for the release dashboard, we have made it so simple that you would not require any navigation paradigm. It remains very simple, so you can use it out of the box. Also, I'll give a quick introduction about what are these dashboards and why do we exactly require these dashboards. For the test suite dashboard, if you're a test manager, you would like to monitor the test status for your projects and solutions. And the test suite dashboard provides you the complete transparency and flexibility to monitor the test status for these projects. Solution readiness dashboard, on the other hand, is mainly intended for the project managers who are working closely with the project setup, the teams, the work packages requirements, and so on, and provide you the complete transparency starting from your project status, the wave sprints, and so on, from requirements to work packages, how your testers are doing their job, how now number of defects that you have raised, the defects that are there, how is the progress for work packages, work items, and so on, the issues, the risks that are there in the system. So solution readiness dashboard provides you the complete transparency there. Coming to the release dashboard, if you're a release manager, you would like to monitor the different components for your releases before you go on to switch the status of this release, either from prepare to build to test to hypercare and so on. So the release dashboard provides you this transparency. Simply put, we have provided the dashboards and made it as simple as possible. We have gotten rid of the complexity, made it simple for you, as well as we have made it so flexible that you can use it as per your liking. So we'll go one by one. The first one to start with is the test suite dashboard. with the test suite dashboard, we have come up with a new version in SP10 onwards. The new version of the test suite dashboard is built completely and is delivered based on SAP standard Fiori elements. And it also provides you a unique way of analyzing the data from different perspectives. It is not that whatever SAP provides as the standard has to be used by you. We provide different dimensions and measures so that you can build your own set of dashboards, do the root cause analysis. Also, we have enabled the drill down so that you can look at different set of data and you can act on this transactional content, which means we are not only providing you the insights, but we are enabling you to take action based on this insights in the form of different overview pages that we are providing, the interactiveness that this dashboards come with, the customizing options that are enabled, and also the chart visualizations that we have. Now, we are providing this in two different flavors. One is the test suite flavor, and the other one is a focused build flavor. If you're working with the solutions, it is ideal to go with the test suite flavor of the test suite dashboard, or if you're working with the projects, focused build flavor of the test suite dashboard works for you. Now, if you can look at this screenshot that is provided in my slide, I would also take you through the system demo where you can look at all these dashboards and see how appealing they are. You can see that we have different cards available on the overview page, and from there you can do a deep navigation. Now, what are the general capabilities that we are providing? Where I tell we have gotten rid of the complexity and made it as flexible as possible. The general capabilities being we have adaptive overview pages, which means you can adapt the look and feel of the cards, and each of these cards you can set up as per your liking. You don't have to necessarily go on what has been delivered, but you can go and adapt this overview pages as per your liking. How do you want to have this based on your visual display, and what is your consideration? What exactly is the information that you want to see first or you want to see the last? You can adapt it based on your liking. You have interactive detail pages. You can select the kind of charts that you want, the visual appeal that you want, whether you want to see this data, whether you don't want to see this data. You can also completely change the dimensions and measures that has been delivered to you. You can go and drill down, for example, based on the different dimensions that you have. We also provide you the option of creation of the page variants, which means whatever changes that you have done based on the considerations, you can go and adapt this pages for your liking. Also share this page variants with your teams. If you don't like the visualization that has been provided by SAP, you can go ahead and change the visualization. For example, you can change from a bar chart to a column chart to a heat map, and so on. We have provided different chart visualization types. You can go and change this chart visualization as well. We don't only provide the chart visualizations, we have also provided the tabular display. The tabular displays allows you to look at the data in a tabular fashion. You can as well add different dimensions and measures and look at the same set of data. We have also provided you the option of reordering and grouping of this data together so that you can see the logical collection of this data together. It is not only possible to look at this data, we have got one step further, and we have also allowed the download of this detailed data into Excel. So you can also download this data and try to visualize this data and make use of this data if you require. Also, you can look at only data and the cards that are of your liking or what you like. You don't necessarily have to see all the set of data that is available. At the end of the day, we have considered the user's feedback and the data or the requirements that are coming from customer connection, and we have enabled that only the visibility of the cards that the user likes is to be enabled. And we have also enabled sending of the mails or the URL for this particular dashboards and saving of the data that you have configured in the form of the tile. And all the data that you have saved for your liking is always stored, which means The last date of the application is stored. Whenever you launch the application back, you don't have to necessarily configure all over again. It's a one-time effort that you configured the overview pages, the detail pages, the number of cards that you want to see, the visualization, the variance, and every time you return back, the same data is shown back to you, right? So I'll show this in a demo as well. So let us proceed forward. The navigation paradigm, as I told in the test suite dashboard, is very, very simple. You have, as soon as you launch, you first have the filter and variant management that allows you to set some defaults and also set what do you want to have this as defaults when you launch the test suite dashboard. The overview page, from there on, once you tell you want to see this data, you are shown the overview page with different cards. You can as well select the cards, the height, the width of the card, and so on, and tell which card you want to see a little bit bigger or smaller. You want to see this card first, second, and so on. So different overview cards are shown to you. And from this, each of these cards, you can navigate further into the detail pages. In the detail pages, you're shown the same set of filters that are there as part of variant management. But in addition, you can add much more filters over here so that you can visualize the data in a different perspective altogether. We are also shown the tabular display of data. But in addition, you can also see the graphical display of data. But in addition, you can also see the graphical display of data. So all in all, the way we provide the tabular display, the variant management, and so on for test suite dashboard, but we extend it one level deeper, where we tell you can select the dimensions and measures that you want to see. You can also sort it and group it together. So the navigation paradigm is very simple. From the filter and variant management, you can select what you want to see, the kind of data and the filter parameters based on which the overview pages are shown. From the overview pages, basically, we go a level deeper and see the detail pages, which can further be configured based on your liking. And from there, if you want, you can add additional parameters, dimensions, measures, and select what exactly is the data that you want to see, right? Okay, just a glimpse of the number of overview pages or the overview cards that you have provided. We have different cards that are used for different purposes. Now we have the test status cards based on the number of test cases that are not passed. So I'll be giving you a deep dive of each of these cards in the demo. But so we have different dimensions of data that we provide based on the kind of usage that we have in the form of test management, either defect management, or the work package analysis, and so on. So you can look at each of this data, configure this data, and then deep dive this data. So all these cards are provided out of the box from SAP, and you can either set the visibility of this cards to enabled or disabled. If you set it to enable, you can see this data. If you set it to disabled, you don't see this data anymore, right? With that being said, a little bit of deep dive into each of these cards. For the test status card, this basically provides you the test cases in different statuses for the test plans. If you're working with the test steps, we basically provide you the test steps progress monitor. The test steps progress monitor shows you the test step progress based on the status of the open defects. So it also considers not only the test steps, but also the number of defects that are present, the priority of this defects, and also the test steps. So overall, we show you what requires the maximum attention, and we sort it so that you get to know where is the action that is required. So we are not only providing you the insights, but we are also calling for action where you can take actions and make use of this dashboard, not only for getting the transparency, but also taking actions based on the data that is presented to you. For critical test executions, we show the critical test cases, which means we sort based on the work status and the open defects. So if you have some test executions which are of very high priority and they have a lot number of defects over there, we always show it on the top. Again, similar to the test steps progress monitor, we have critical test executions that requires your attention. The test steps progress, which is a next card, shows you the test cases in different statuses and the progresses in the selected time frame. So you can select the time frame and see how your test cases progress have been, how the test status has progressed, whether it has improved, whether it has deteriorated. You can also look at different statuses for each of these cards. Similarly, you can also have a look at the different defect statuses, how their priority has been, how they are progressing, and so on. With that being said, there is the defect status progress, and similar to the test status progress, you can see how the defect statuses have been, whether they have improved, that the condition has deteriorated, and whether you require some action based on these cards. Critical defects gives you the priority and the processing time of each of these defects, and we call for an insight to action over here as well, where the defects that require the highest attention are always sorted and presented to you so that you can take action. So using the critical defects, if there is a defect manager, he always know what is the priority for him to work on. The work package test assignment card is only available in the test suite dashboard focused build variant, which means we only provide it when you're working with projects. And the work package test case assignment tile basically gives you the work packages in different statuses when compared to the test case assignment status. So if you're working with projects, test package test case assignment gives you the data for the work packages, and it only not only provides you the data based on the percentages, but also absolute numbers, right? Now, I've shown you what exactly comes with the test suite dashboard, but let us also quickly go into the demo. I will initially go into the test suite dashboard, test suite variant. And here, if you see, the data is getting loaded, and I've selected basically a solution that has a lot of data for us. So let me quickly just tell it go. Now, if you see over here, the first and the foremost area that we have is the variant management or the filter management. You can select different solutions, the projects that are there as part of the solutions, and also the associated test plans if you're interested to work on. We have completely rebuilt the test search help so that you can not only select the test plans that you want to work with, but we have made it as simple as possible so that you can select the test plans that you're working with. So it is as simple as possible. You can also select multiple test plans over here if you are interested, or you can just look at this data. As soon as you tell go, you are presented with different cards that are loaded by default. And from here, if you're a test manager, you can look at the test status and see the different test cases belonging to the test plans and the different statuses that they belong to. Now, if I click on each of these cards, further, it is possible that I can go ahead and select one of the cards. There is a lot of data that is selected over here. So let me quickly select one of the test plan. Now you see that as soon as I selected the test plan, the graphical representation as well as the tabular representation of this data has changed. I can do multiple things over here. Now let's suppose you want to work only with the graphical representation. So you can click over here and go only to the graphical representation of this data. If you want to work only with a tabular display, you can select to work only with a tabular display. But if you want to work with both of them, I like working with both of them, so I bring it back. Also, you can decide that instead of working with a stack bar chart, you want to work with, for example, a column chart. Now, it comes in as quickly as possible. Also, you don't like the data that is presented to you. That's not a problem at all. Now here we have selected the detailed test status. I unselect the detailed test status and, for example, select the overall status. Now let us see what happens. Now you see there are different test statuses that is presented out of the box. You don't have to do anything at all. It is just comes. Now let's suppose you want to view by, for example, a test case or a test case priority. You can also drill down based on the test case priority. Now you see the data has basically changed. You can also drill down by test case type. The data also further gets changed. Let's suppose in this table below, I want to add, for example, the test package priority and the test package. If you want to test, you can add two more data dimensions over here. And if I tell over here, the list is further expanded and the test case type, the test package, the test package priority, and so on is added. Very simple. If you want, you can just tell export, and if you export this, the data is basically fetched, the file is generated, and you can basically download this, and the data generated is already presented to you in the form of Excel. It is. Right. Now, all of this is presented to you out of the box. You don't have to do necessarily much from your side, but if you require, you can also save this next time onwards. Let us put it as ALM1, set as default, you apply automatically and save. So next time onwards, whenever you want to come to this view, okay, I clicked it twice, so not a problem. Here, I think there is an intermittent issue, which we try to solve here. Right. This is what I was mentioning. Next time onwards, you come over here. I set it as LM1. You see the data is already available. And if you always want the same, this to be the default view, you can also go and tell you want it as the default view and tell OK. So it is always selected as default and presented to you the next time. Now, this was just one of the cards. Now, what I was also mentioning is, if let me just reduce the load of data and test data overview. Okay, what I was also mentioning was, if you don't want to see all the cards together, if you are a test manager who is working only on the test status or the test progress, and you don't necessarily want to see the defect status, defect progress, and so on, you can as well go into the manage cards, right? And you can switch off the other options. You can just see 3 cards. From next time onwards, you can see only 3 cards. The few additional things that I want to show you is, let's suppose you want the test status to be like this. You want the test executions below this. This is how I like it. And test progress to be here. Like this. So the next time, the settings are basically saved. And the next time you come into the screen, you will see the same visual representation. You don't necessarily have to do anything about it. It's taken care by SAP, so you can only decide to work with as much flexibility as possible. So as you saw in the test status, we basically set up a couple of things. We created a page. We try to set up as per your liking, and then we went ahead. Now, similarly, if you're working with a test progress monitor, let me just tell go. So this basically provides you the different test steps that require your action, the number of step progress, the open number of defects that are there, sorted by the priority. You can as well go into the test progress monitor. I have created just a default for you. You can also look into one of the variants. You can see that you are able to go ahead and drill down. You can select whatever, for example, a step tester over here, who is the different step testers for each of this test steps. In this scenario, we only have one. And also you can select what is the team that they are working for, and so on and so forth. So we will provide you the complete flexibility. You can select what do you want to work on. Also, it is possible that each of this, either the chart and the table can be configured independently. It does not necessarily have to be based on the same set of data. You can also you can select team, test case priority, and the test package over here. So these details are automatically added. You can also save this as a variant if you require over here, and you can get the complete visibility of the test progress monitor. Similarly, for the critical test executions, it gives you the complete visibility of the test executions, what would, based on the priority and the open defects that are available. In the interest of time, since we have two more dashboards to show, I'll just quickly rush. And for showing that, I will go into a different variant of the test suite dashboard. As I told, we also have focused build variant. So over here, you can see we have the test status progress. And if you look at the past 90 days timeline, you see that this test status has progressed into different statuses. The OK rate has increased, whereas the errors have remained the same and the test progress has come down. So this provides you a visibility of what exactly do you want to do. In a similar way, coming to the defect status, we provide you the visibility of a different priority and the status of these defects that are raised and number of defects that calls for your attention. You can go into each of these defects, create your own page. For example, here you can select that you want to see the number of defects in different statuses. What are these defects? How has the categorization been for each of these defects? You can also tell the component when this defect has been created, who created this defect, for example, and tell OK. And if you tell OK, this details gets added, as you see over here on the right hand side. So simplistically put, you can create your own set of data for this defects. You can select the kind of data that you want to work on, and based on the data that is selected, my mouse is too sensitive, so I need to launch it all over again. Right. So the defect status basically provides you the complete transparency on the defects based on this priority and the status. But if you only want to see on the priority, it also possible. Now, critical defects similar to critical test executions calls your action or gives you the insight based on the highest priority defects and the defects that requires for your attention. Similar to the other page, other cards, you can go into this card, create your own visualization, the tabular display, the kind of chart that you want to see, and work on these details. I will be showing you the last card, that is the work package test based assignment. Here it gives you the information on different work packages, what are the different statuses for this work packages, whether the assignment of the test case has been done or not, and you can view by different dimensions all over again. You can keep adding these dimensions based on your liking. And once you have this, you can save this and export if you require. So you get to know which work packages have either the test case assigned or not. And if they are not assigned, you already know what are the problematic areas over here. So all in all, Test Suite dashboard provides you a test manager complete visibility of their test progress, different components that are associated with the test progress, and all the objects that call for action. Now, with that being said, I will quickly jump into the solution readiness dashboard. The solution readiness dashboard is what I'm going to show now is still under a lab preview. It is getting built by our development teams. There is a lot of hard work that has been put in by the development teams for getting this through and making it as simple as possible. So a new version of the solution readiness dashboard, as I told, is getting built. Again, similarly to test suite dashboard using standard Fury elements. It provides you the possibility to analyze the data. Different steps can be analyzed based on different perspectives. And you can also not only look at the data, but also drill down further to look at the root causes. You can act on the transactional content. We provide a lot of cards, 14 cards to be precise, for you based on the different set of data. If you don't like the card that has been provided by SAP, you can hide some of the cards. You can keep some of the cards enabled, but you can go and create from each of these cards individual detail pages. And from the detail pages, you can configure the dimensions and measures that you want to see. You can configure the charts. You can configure the data or the tabular display. You can save. You can do a lot of things similar to what I told for the test suite dashboard. So again, the general capabilities, it has adaptable overview pages. It provides you also the creation of the page variants that can be shared. It is possible that you can have configurable or different ways of looking at the data based on the visualization options. The tabular display basically provides you the option of not only going deep down, but also reordering and grouping of this data. The view by function provides you the drill down to different dimensions. You can, of course, add a lot of dimensions and measures to the tabular display and download this data. And if you don't like certain cards that are provided by SAP, you can, of course, go and manage these cards. You can hide some of these cards and the visibility of these cards. Once you are done preparing this dashboards on your own, and if you like to share it, you can always share it with your colleagues. And you can also save this tile so that you can always launch what you built for yourself. Again, the navigation paradigm remains very similar to the test suite dashboard. We have a filter and a variant management where you can select the data that you are working with. Again, as I told, you're working with two different options or variants of you're working with the two different variants of the test suite dashboard, but in the solution readiness dashboard, we provide all the 14 cards in the form of one single tile. So once you've selected the data that you're working with in the variant management, we provide you the overview pages with different cards. There is a small typo over here, but it actually means cards. From there on, you can drill down to the detail pages. And from the detail pages, you can personalize based on your liking. And we also provided you the contextual navigation. If you're working with certain projects or you're working with certain waves, you don't necessarily have to compare the data or look at this data in a different screen altogether. We provide you the jump in on the contextual navigation from here on. So the overview pages in the solution readiness dashboard provides the 14 different cards. Each of these cards has individual pages. From these individual pages, you can build your own variants, own options. You can have own set of dimensions and measures. If you want to get the latest data, you can always trigger the refresh to fetch the latest data and work on this data to get the um, uh, to get. Sorry, I just clicked something by mistake. Yeah, you can trigger the refresh to fetch the latest data. It's also the possibility to share by email. Now, just a quick introduction. I'll also be showing this to you in a demo, which is a lab preview. Right. Okay. Now we have the overall status that gives you the information on the projects and the waves. If you're working with different projects and waves, the information about these projects and waves is provided. The information on the requirements based on different statuses, the work packages based on different statuses, and the percentage of the scope changes that have been done. The work item and the aggregated status for this work item is provided as a different card. How has your project status progressed further, the work package distribution that we have, how has the work packages been distributed across different projects, waves based on their categories is also provided out of the box. Now, if you're working with work packages, you would also like to get the information about this work packages based on different projects, waves, and so on. So this is already provided out of the box. The progress for the work packages, the work items, the number of risks or the open risks that are available, different defects and the defect statuses based on the priority and different statuses is provided. If you're working with defect corrections for work packages, what are the different defects that are there, the KPI statuses, how has the KPI statuses been for work packages and work items. This is a very important item where you can already see whether what is the reason for either the work packages or the work items being delayed, too much time being taken, and what are the important milestones that are missed, what is the current status and so on. And similar to the test suite dashboard, we have the test status style, which gives you the information of different statuses and the test plan classification, the open issues that are pending, and what can you do about these open issues. So all this is provided. I'm just going a little bit fast so that I can also show you the test suite dashboard adequately in the system. Just let me quickly refresh. So if you're an architect, basically the solution readiness dashboard is provided to you in this particular tile. I have already saved it as part of my. Right. So here you can see if you're right. Okay. So if you're working with a project, basically you have the option of selecting a project. The build project drop down basically lets you select different build projects associated to this main project, and you can select the different waves as well. Now here I will only select a project and tell go. From here you can see what is the overall status for this project, what are the different projects that are there, the main projects and the build projects, what has been the project severity, who is the project lead, and so on. As I told you, also enabled the contextual navigation, which means you don't necessarily have to look into different places. You can just launch the project management application directly from here. Again, not only the projects, you can also look at different waves that are available for this main project, which are the associated waves for the build project, the cross waves, and so on. So all this information is presented. You can as well launch into the wave, one specific wave of the project management application, and you can have a look at the project management application if you desire so. Now, similarly, we have the requirement management card. The requirement management card gives you the requirements in different statuses. For example, here you can see we have the status in progress, to be scoped, realized, unassigned, and so on. And if there are a lot of requirements that are basically in unassigned status, you already know that there is a call for action, that this requires some attention, and you basically have to work or ensure that this unassigned statuses basically have to be corrected. Right, I put it back. So we also have the work packages, and the foremost information that we have is what are the number of scope changes that this work packages have undergone or currently in. Along with the statuses for the different work packages. So if you are nearing the release and you already know if there are too many objects in one particular status, if you're not handed them over to the production, or if they are in development, this requires a call for action. Similarly, we have the work item card that gives you the work item in different statuses. Here we have in development, created, and successfully tested status. We also provide you the information of the work package distribution. So here we have the work package distribution based on the projects, based on the category, or based on a wave. So you can decide what is the visualization that you would like, which is the particular information that is appropriate for you. Similar to work package distribution, we also have work item distribution based on a sprint. Additionally, we had project category and wave for work package distribution, but also for work item distribution. But additionally, we provided by sprint for work item. You can look how the work item and the work package have progressed using progress by card. So here you can see the work packages have progressed 20% successfully tested, but you can see the work item have basically progressed to 36% successfully tested. Now, there are also information on open risk here. Similar to the other cards, you can just decide that you want to make this cards bigger. So you can select how do you want the visual appeal of this card. So here I've just made this card bigger. There are 11 open risk for the selected project. So it also gives you the information of what does the size of each of this bubble mean, what is the probability and the impact of this particular risk, and how you should act based on the bubble size, the impact, and so on. And if you want additional information, you can hover your mouse, and this gives you the information of all the risk count, the impact, the criticality, and so on. Right. With that being said, we have also the information for you from the test and the defect area. So the test status card, similar to the test suite dashboard, gives you the information by test plan classification, how the test has been progressing, or the different variants of the test, and what are the different statuses for this test plan classification. Right, and for the defect corrections, you get to know what are the different work packages, how the work packages are, what are the different statuses for this work packages, and so on. So also, what we have one card for the open issues, and the open issues card basically tells the number of open issues, the priority for these open issues, and what requires your urgent action. As I mentioned, we have very interesting KPI status card. You can as well expand this if you require, and here you can tell what are the different KPIs for work packages or the work items, what are the different statuses for this KPIs, and what are overdue, which of them are completed, which of them are missing the milestones, or they're already to be done, and so on. And we have the defect status style. And in the defect status style, you can see the number of open defects by either priority or the status. Right. You can either decide you want to see it by the priority or you want to see it by the status. And if it means red, it requires call for action. So you can go into each of these defects and see which one of them are high and so on. Last but not the least, you have the different project tasks, and looking at this particular card, you can tell what statuses are these project tasks in. And for each of this card that I have shown, you can further go into the detail pages. From the detail pages, you can configure the charts, you can configure the tabular display, you can select how do you want the drill down to happen for each of this data. You can select the type of display. You can also select different columns for the tabular display. Download this into Excel if you require. You can go and share this pages with your friends, your colleagues in your company, and so on. So in the interest of time, I will not be showing you the details page, but this is the lab preview that I'm showing. It is currently being developed. So stay tuned for the new version of the solution readiness dashboard. Now with that, we continue forward. Okay, so we have last but not the least, we have the release dashboard. Now, if you're a release manager, you'd always like to have the information about all the release components and how these release components are affecting the change of status for the release. For example, if you want to move the status of a release from prepare to build, build to test, test to hypercare, and so on. What are the important components that are involved? How has the system landscape been? How the transports are been moving? Whether the work packages are all in the right status? Whether work items are all completed? Whether they are not yet completed? Whether there is a long backlog of these objects? Whether there is defect corrections that are created? If it's in hypercare, you'd want to know if there is a lot of requests for changes, what are the changes that are there, which are the teams that are working on, and also if there are a lot of transports without assignments. This all objects are of interest to a release manager and would be interested to get the transparency of all these objects. And from release dashboard and via release dashboard, we provide you the complete transparency for all these objects that are associated with release dashboard in focus build, which is new with SP09. So we have a new interface for release dashboard, and with this we provide you the drill down from top dimensions down to the transport level. We also provide you a breadcrumb navigation to show the current context. There are different options, filter options for work packages. It can be defect corrections, work items. It can be request for changes, transport requests, and so on. And also we provide you the status rating to evaluate the completeness of the releases. So using this statuses, you get to know whether your objects are appropriately working. Everything that are associated to these objects have the right statuses, whether you can move these objects to the next status, and so on. And also you can control the pending imports of transport request. If there are undesirable changes to this transport request, some of them are not following the right processes and just going ahead with releasing the transports or changing these transports, not following the usual process, you also get the complete transparency in this dashboard. Now the navigation paradigm for the release dashboard is very simple. First of all, you have the selection and the variant management, from where you can select the change control landscape and the release cycle. And based on this, you're basically also provided the information on who is the which is the release, what is the current status of the release, when is the go live date for this release, who is the release manager, who is the test manager, the number of documents that are associated to this release, and the number of test plans, the test packages that you're working with. Now, based on this information or the selected information, then you have all the cards that are populated in the overview page with all the information. Now, from there on, you can look at or deep dive into the detailed information or the detailed page for each of these cards. And also, we provide you the rating for each of these components, whether they're in the right status, whether they're okay, whether they're not okay. And if they're not okay, you can go into the details for each of these ratings and get to know the information about these ratings. Then there is a contextual navigation for each of the applications, from where you can go into the individual objects if you want information about this individual objects, who is working on, what is the current status, what is happening with these objects. You can drill down into the application, for example, for the work packages, and you can look at what is happening with these objects. So all this capability is provided in the form of a release dashboard. Now I will quickly demo you the release dashboard. Okay. Right, we launch the release dashboard. And here you can see I have already created a variant. You can choose the change control landscape that you're working with and the associated release cycle. So let us take a prepare release cycle, prepare phase, and this already provides you the information of what is the release ID, the description, the release status, the go live state, the go live date, who is the release manager, the test manager, the number of documents which are hyperlinked, which means you can, if you click this, it gives you the total number of documents, the test plans, and the test packages. Now, if you're working with the change control landscape and a release, there are always the number of systems. Here you get to know that in this case, there are roughly around 12 systems. And each of the systems, there are development systems, quality, pre-production, and production systems, 3 each. You can go into the system landscape, for example, and further down, if you want to just tell which are the development systems, you can filter and tell development systems, right? Or you can cancel it and tell which are the development systems. Now, if you look at system OTO, just for your information, it's telling the system client, the system role, which is the transport track, the number of work packages that are there, the number of work items, defect corrections, and so on. You also see a rating over here. And if you want to get more information about this ratings, again, my mouse is too sensitive in nature. Yeah, I just click that button. It tells you the work packages basically have a major issue. Similar, the work items have a major issue. The defect corrections don't have any issues, and so on. So you can go back if you want and see each of these objects. As well, you can look at the work packages that belong to OTO development system. Just by clicking over here, they will be contextually navigated to all the work packages that belong to this system. Similarly, you can go into the work items and see which are the work items, defect corrections, which are the transports that are there, and so on. So you have the complete transparency about the systems that are related. Now, similarly, we have the transports, and if you look at the transports, there are 199 transports, and whether the transports are in the release status, whether they are open in the development system, if you want to move or change the status of the release from one status to the other, whether all the required transports have been released. If not, why are they not released? Whether they are in QAS system, pre-production system, production system, whether they're pending, and so on. So this provides you the complete transparency of the releases. You can as well load all the statuses that you have. You can look at the rating, for example. You can tell which are the major issues. right? You can look at all the objects that have been open. You can look at, okay, there are no major issues, hopefully, right? Okay. Right, you can also tell which is the team that is working on, what is the problematic areas, and so on. So released. So you can see the objects that have been released, what is the export status, what is the reference transaction, the reference object ID, who is the user who is basically transported this, and so on. Now, with respect to the work packages, let me quickly, okay, we have some time, 4 minutes. Okay, work packages again gives you the transparency of the work packages that have been created, whether they're successfully tested, who is working on this work packages, what is the rating. You can also select one of the work packages, go to the rating and see whether the document is compliant, what is missing, the reason for it to be missing, what is the expected status for this document, and so on. So, and for each of this document, you can also select multiple and tell you want to go to a mass change app and change this work packages if required. Similarly, for the work items, you can go into the work items and see each of the status, whether the status has been okay, not okay. If there is a problem with this work items, what is the reason for the compliance, that it's green, or the document rating that is red, and what is the expected status, and why is it not in appropriate status. Right. Over here, defect corrections. Similarly, what are the different statuses for this defect corrections? You can deep dive into each of these defect corrections and so on. And if the status is basically into hypercare, you can see what are the different requests for changes, what are the different changes, the teams that are working on the different transports without assignments. Here you see the different request for changes. You can go into this object and see that the compliance is not green. It also gives you the information of why this compliance is not green. Right, and again, the teams that are working on, which are the different teams who are working, why is this particular status not green? There are some changes, and you can look at these changes once you go back. So what are the different transports that are there? What are the changes? So contextual navigation is enabled over here, and so on. Now, last but not the least, we have the transport without assignment. So which are the transport that are just there in the system and that require attention? Using this, it is a very helpful feature where you get to know all the transport that are there without assignments. Now, with that being said, I'm finished with my demo. We have finished with the time as well. So if you have any feedback, feel free to use this particular QR and provide the feedback for my session. And if you have any questions, you can also get in touch with me. These are my contact details. And I thank you very much for being part of this presentation.